Coming at you from Scratch and Wolf Studio. It's that time again to rage across the internet. Your very favorite Werewolf the Apocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Porter. To my left, the original Mr. Bucket, Mr. Daniel Tyson.
Hey, everybody.
To my right, King of the Candyland, Tommy Dixon.
How's it going?
How we doing, gentlemen?
Oh, great. Just great.
Fresh off of a post-mortem recording, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
We did. We just recorded a postmortem. That's a lot of fun.
Always.
And it usually puts us in rare form.
Yeah.
So-
There's some laughs, some things we can't say on air.
Got to pay for it.
A little bit. So there's... See, there's no telling how this episode's going to go. I guess it's your opinion. How do you feel about how we are after a postmortem?
Mm-hmm. But hey, hope you guys are enjoying the new audio. I know you've gotten a few episodes of it now.
Right. How great is that, huh? Bet you thought like it'd be a one and done and we just would go back. No, this is just how it is now.
Oh, man. Like our Farrah episode. It's like, oh, should we put that one on air?
Oh, the one that was
not.
recorded on the laptop? Yeah, no.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. I remember.
Yeah, that's rough to listen to.
So anyway.
Yes.
Thank you, backers.
Right. Yes, thank you to our backers. And if you want to become a backer, you can do that over at Ko-Fi.
ko-fi.com/rage across the internet.
That's right. Link is on the front page of our website. It's also the show notes, but it's in the front page of our website, which is
rageacrosstheinternet.com. You had to make it weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like it's weird, not weird when we all three do it.
You're weird.
I mean, you made it weird.
There's other links on that front page too. We got
Mr. Gone.
Mr. Gone's sheets.
The affiliate link for the Storyteller's Vault.
Mm-hmm.
Drive through RPG.
Yep. Which is kind of the same it's the same affiliate link. It's like you can get from both from the one, but whatever.
But anyway,
they're on the front page. So those are great ways you can help us out as well.
Yep. Couple links down, you'll see the forums. You get on there, you can join our Discord.
Right. And the link to the Discord is right there in the announcement section of the forums to make that abundantly fucking clear. But we want you to go to the forums because we want you to see what's on there.
There's some other cool shit there. That's why we just don't give out the link. But it's very, very obvious. It's there.
It's free for everybody.
It's free just with an email address.
It's just our two-step authentication. That's all. That's kind of what we use it for.
Basically what that is. Yeah.
Keeps the bots from coming in.
And again, lets you see what we have there. Because again, there's some really interesting shit. Old Nocturnus articles. There's the ticker.
Yep, the ticker's there.
And interestingly enough, and this was something that I did a live read of for one of the very first backer rewards, was a Blanket of Anger, which was a little character essay written by Lisa Fleischman back in the Nocturnus days. And what that was is it was a look at a particular Garou, an unnamed. It's not important who he is.
It's just your average Garou.
Yeah. Just living a day in the city. And the reason I bring this up
look at this segue
is because that's what we'll be talking about today is the city
life.
Yeah.
And how every Garou should fucking hate it.
But yeah,
except for two tribes.
Yeah. And that's part of it too.
That's part of it, but like, it doesn't mean they don't hate it. They just accept it more.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Garou are still part wolf. Our instincts are still there. They are still primitive creatures.
Well, they're also still part spirit, so they're obsessed with both boo and getting out.
He's got a point.
Thank you for that.
Get out of my city. There you go. Happy with that one?
That was helpful.
Boo.
I mean, both of us.
Yeah, of course it was.
Both of us were being very helpful.
Yes, I know.
I mean, everything you guys said, there's truth to all of that. The city is a miserable fucking hellscape, but it's also ripe with growth and beauty. And the differences are both in perspective and in location.
Oh, yes.
It's not one thing. And I think it's a tricky subject and there's a lot you can unpack. So we decided we'd talk about it for roughly an hour and a half.
You have the city that's being, I don't want to say the words corrupt, but it's pretty much corrupt. But it's under the influence, I guess, of both Weaver and Worm. And you know what? It's probably even all three.
There is room for the wild as well, yeah, because it's again, it's not one thing. It's a living, breathing thing, in a roundabout way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, of course, you have the spirits of the city fathers, and we can talk about that again in a minute. You know, I did that originally at one point. And
the city father and city mother, and
and
we made
I,
up
when I came up with my vision of the city father for Detroit,
which was so cool.
Right,
Yeah,
I was very happy with that. Yeah. I don't remember what episode that was, but I remember
that was a big callback. It's
a really old one.
I believe that was just the spirits episode. I
Could have spirits not go. Yeah, I don't know.
The spirits not ghosts. I don't know.
We're like 115 in, guys. Come on.
Yeah, like I don't know what I did yesterday. You want me to fucking quote an episode a year or two ago?
It was a while, yes.
But again, I mean, there's that. There's a lot of spirit life, and there's the small things. You know, like that daisy busting through concrete. The way the ground takes hold, and you know, we've seen this shit. It's a little shit you walk by every day, and you don't notice, you don't pay attention to.
Yeah, it's stuff that's easily taken and granted for.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's only partially related, but I was talking to one of our Discord members just this morning, and we were talking about red talons. So it's not really a correlation, but how people in his group were having trouble understanding, and I'm paraphrasing here.
It's fine.
Understanding the red talons, and what I pointed out is it was a matter of perspective, because you're looking at it, or these players were looking at it through human eyes, and that's like a double mistake in the case of the red talons,
mm-hmm.
because you shouldn't be looking at Garou through human lens. That's already wrong. And then you have the additional lens of it being exclusively lupus.
I was gonna say, then only wolf. That's.
You can't look at them from a human. Why would you ever be on the human side from the perspective of a red talon? Is a lupus. And this is super off topic. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It'll come around.
Right. And I guess, I'll just get to that point. It was when I'm talking about like boo humanity
mm-hmm.
from that perspective. I mentioned, to include some of the little things to help showcase that point of view and that perspective. And I use the example of, maybe you're around the city and you see some drunk guy in an alley just pissing all over the ground, maybe on, as a matter of fact, a daisy that was breaking through the concrete. Just to showcase how shitty people are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then
here's this nature thing that broke through the concrete to have life, and here's some drunk asshole peeing on it.
And that's the perspective that the red talon is seeing. Like, no, I get it.
See, I brought it around to the city.
He's feeding it.
There you go.
He's giving
He's
it
watering
life.
the plants. It's
He's
great.
watering the plants.
That's his
It's
perspective.
healthy.
And then you get the talon's perspective is something completely different.
No, the human perspective is I gotta pee.
This thing just happens to be here.
Right?
Okay, fine. Maybe it's a
color.
bonar
There's a color
sees
there,
it.
so it's a target.
Instead of him writing his name on the wall, he found a daisy to hit.
Right? That's how hard I don't care.
Right.
And I think that's another point, is because there's a lot of ways. And I mean, there's so much to fucking talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're running it, city is more of a bleak, if you're focusing on the bleakness of a city.
Which you probably should be. It's the world of darkness.
Yeah, but to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of ways to go. And I'm going to end around to Detroit in a few minutes. And I think you both know that.
Yes, of course we do.
Just waiting for it.
Right. And that's again in how different ways to shade, to color that city. You can have that super bleak. There's no hope. Everything's fucked up. Right. And
mm-hmm.
I'm not even looking. It's not why I'm going to bring up Detroit. Because I think Detroit, from a Garou perspective, becomes a more hopeful city. I have on more than one occasion brought up Charlie LaDuff's Detroit, An American Autopsy, which you can find on Audible, not sponsored, but I think it's a good...
worth mentioning.
Yes, it's worth mentioning because it's a great listen, and it's a great set piece to help you build a city. I had our buddy Lou listen to it recently.
Oh, what did he think?
Oh, he liked it a lot.
That's awesome.
And we're talking about this section of this book where you see how nature is reclaiming the city. And I'm not going to go into more of it than that because it's not important.
Right. It's the wild taking it back.
It's the wild taking it back. Because you have a city full of urban decay and poverty, and there's no jobs, and there's stretches of like miles long stretches of residential areas with nothing there but burned out husks and maybe like one person living.
It's just squatters, yeah.
Well, like one person who actually owns the place. Like, this is my home. There used to be neighbors. Now there's nothing.
Couple deer sitting out there.
Yeah, there's 3 blocks away. There's another living being, but it's just me here. And I'm the holdout, right?
Right.
You know, and good on them for hanging on. That's not my point here. But in the meantime, yeah. What's happened to those lawns?
Overgrown.
Yeah. Suddenly the wild's taken that back. There's nature again. Yeah, there's deer running through these fields that used to be someone's lawn.
It's weird to think about, but like us living here. And no, we're not technically in Detroit, but we're fucking close enough that we've all seen this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I mean, I came up. I've spent a lot of fucking time in Detroit.
Yes. I'm saying
Like
physically, we're not physically in Detroit right now, but
No,
we're
not in this
close
second.
enough that we've all seen it. And yeah, it's nuts. And yeah, the wild taking it back, I think is a bigger deal to say it that way.
And again, it's directly related to the downfall of humanity in the area. So, like, for me, it's not a view of a bleak city. That's a view of a city going back to Gaia.
I like it like that.
You know, that's a thing. Like, oh, there's going to be a plant opening up that's going to bring all these jobs. We should probably stop that because this is pretty good for the mission right now, where everyone's poor and miserable.
Or humanity doesn't have its clutches there anymore.
Exactly. That's the type
And
of
that's
city.
the
one
Garou
that's-
lens, right? But
Right.
if we look at the human lens,
But we're not playing human the victiming.
You know, I like the way you paint
Good
that
point.
with the husks of the buildings and then the grass is growing. That's kind of like an umbral landscape of the residents of the houses. It wouldn't be a full house. It would just be the husk of the house.
That's actually that's very true.
That's how it paints the picture for me. This would be like an umbral residence of a residential area.
Yeah, like actually you could go walk some of those neighborhoods down in Detroit. Don't
Don't
go
do
do
it.
this.
No.
Do not do this.
not without it.
Nope, not
No.
without it all.
I was
Not
going to say
without it
without
all.
an escort.
Not
No.
at all.
You can get the escort up the street, but yeah.
Not that escort.
No, that's firebombed and hollowed out too.
That's yes. Ow.
But yes, you could go do that. Don't ever. Like, I can sell you a house for $10 in Detroit. It's going to be some burned up bricks, and that's about all. But that's your house. But no, yeah, you're right. The husks. That's a great example.
Yeah.
For the Umbro residents. But here's the thing too, though, is what about when it wasn't? Because, you know, Detroit is a very unique example.
Mm-hmm.
But it also just so happens to be the one we're most familiar with. And at different levels of intimately familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of my point there.
Because I love Detroit.
You know,
Certain parts of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We ain't going into Port Charlotte, but you know, look, it was home, you know, 86 Bliss. I don't even think the building exists there anymore, but hey, you know,
I don't think. I mean, the city, what, in the 40s and 50s, it was booming.
60s. I mean,
60s
it was the riots
too.
in the
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah, the
And
riots
then-
didn't hit till the 70s, and then it's a wasteland now.
And I mean, there's some fascinating history there if you want to use this as an example to build for a game. There's the Crime Town podcast, season 2, handled Detroit specifically. There's a documentary called Detroit Under Stress. These are good resources. I recommend them, but this is not the Detroit episode.
We're just referencing it to make it.
Because
because
it's really easy for us to do so.
Right, and it's a unique case to where Gaia is taking it back because the city is in such dire straits, and we are talking the world of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a point there to where there could be other examples of cities that have fucking bombed it so hard through corruption and mismanagement and, you know, this, and this, that Gaia could start to take it back. For crying out loud, you could run a chronicle with glasswalkers and bone gnawers working their way into the city infrastructure to ruin it.
On purpose.
Yes, for this very reason,
I like that. That's a good plot seed.
right? What happens when everything just stops working?
Humans leave.
Yep. And what happens when humans leave? Nature comes back.
I mean, it could very easily go the opposite direction,
That can happen too.
especially with, you know, if we maybe take the bonars out of it, but leave the glasswalkers.
So you're saying where things will get worse before they get better, but we're not focusing on the getting better part?
Yes.
We just maybe shit stopped at the worst and didn't recover the way you would hoped.
Kinda. It's kind of where I'm thinking, yeah.
I see, that makes me think of, and here's another great example of Inspirato, is The Wire. If you haven't watched The Wire, fucking shame. Watch The Wire.
I need to.
It's
on my list. I just haven't got to it.
I wasn't even talking to you specifically.
I know, but
to finish my sentence, get your head out of your ass and watch The Wire.
Looking directly at me, yes.
Well, now that you called attention.
Yes, I know.
I was going to say that anyway, because that's a great show. And not only that, it's because the show is really about the city more than it is any of the individual characters. You know, each season focuses on a different facet of the city and a different, we're going to use the term, problem. There are plot lines that run through the whole series. There are characters that are there through the whole series. But, you know, this season's about this, and this season's really about this, and this season they focus on this. And again, all within the world and all within these characters and how people adapt. But really, the city is the main character.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, you know, you go from dealing with the projects to the docks to how the media handles shit to the school systems. And it's all fucking related. So it's a great thing to focus on, but there's a plot thread, and I think season 3, where there's an experiment. I don't want to give too much away, but certain people within the police precinct decide that there's going to be a 2 or 3 stretch, a city block stretch of houses that have been abandoned, these shitty neighborhoods that have been abandoned, that drugs are going to be legal in. That you take all the hoppers and the crack and the dealers, and you say, here, you come to these 3 blocks and you can do whatever the fuck you want to. We are not going to touch you. And in the meanwhile, those neighborhoods they used to sling their shit in are improving. People are going outside and like they're fixing their lawns and painting the houses again, and they're turning into nice neighborhoods. But these 3 blocks, what do you think happens there? And I ain't going to talk more about
it. But yeah.
Holy shit, yeah. I just thought of that's like a bonar, or not even a bonar, but that's a Glasswalker's like plan.
Could be a bonar plan too, though. I don't think they'd love it as much, but that's something to consider too, is that there are people that live in these cities. You know, they're the residential neighborhoods of these large cities. No matter your level of bleak, we're going to turn the dial on. That there are good people who maybe if given a chance could help improve it in a positive way that still allows for humanity to be there. But they've got to have the chance to do it. And then you focus on other aspects of the city. Utilities. Again, I mentioned the school systems. You look at that and how you could use neglect or the worm influence to...
I can see the worm influence.
You know, attracting Banes, and it's making these environments shittier. It's encouraging violence and stupidity. Mm-hmm. You could focus on like defunded firemen and police in a corrupt system, which leads to corruption there. Because, hey, we got to get by somehow.
There's so many possibilities.
Which is why we're fucking talking about it. And we're just talking about the physical shit right now. We got to talk about spiritual stuff, too.
And how bad does that look in the Umbra?
Well, depends.
Depends how long it's been.
Depends how long it's been. Depends on where it is. And depends on what we're, you know, I don't want to say it depends on what we're calling bad. But, you know, you think about these.
Especially World of Darkness.
I was going to say.
There's a certain level of bad.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. But hey, how about a park?
Okay.
How about Inner City Park? It's been there for 60 years.
Plenty of time for it to have resonance.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And a lot of time for positive spiritual resonance. So maybe today it's overgrown and like the fence is all busted down and the equipment's broken and rusty and the paint's all flecked off and people only go there to sell drugs or shoot each other. But in the Umbra, maybe it's a beautiful fucking park where you have serene spirits hanging out because it's the resonance of what it used to be was so strong that it's still holding true in the Umbra.
I could see lots of fairies or something.
Sure. Maybe that place is ripe to make an urban cairn.
Oh,
good, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And how nice is that? I mean, you think of like Central Park, but that's a bigger deal. But now you think of this little park that no one's going to go to at night.
Right.
No one's going to be in this neighborhood at night. Oh my God.
Scary.
So now you have a pack or two of Garou who have taken this over, maybe taken over a couple of the abandoned apartment complex.
Okay.
Because of
or Glasswalkers just have an easy way. I mean, it's a plot of land that's not being used, easy way to buy it. And then build whatever they want on it as their cairn.
Yeah, with enough work and putting time into it. And, funneling gnosis, it's possible.
No, they can easily camouflage it too.
Right?
It's still going to be the shitty, gross park that no one goes to because it's scary and look at all the bad shit that happens there. But we use that as cover so no one else comes to it. This is our home now.
Bonars looking like drug dealers sitting out there. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Just put a hood over them, look like a thug.
I can see that. That looks good.
It's probably, the average Bonar's probably dropped way more bodies than your average thug.
It's fair.
So it's not really out of his wheelhouse.
No.
It's a different story, though.
Sitting on a soapbox in there, just belting out nonsense.
Right? It's like, look, man, you might have been to jail a couple times, but me, I killed 18 people yesterday. And that was just Tuesday.
That's a hell of a fire time story.
Well, they're sitting around a barrel, so yeah.
There are so many different facets of a city you can use, and you don't always think about it, or even like the burbs. And this is one that I've always kind of struggled with, right? Because you don't think of, you think of that as just like super safe.
Yes.
It's
Depending on the burbs, yeah.
But there's that feeling of
safety in numbers.
Just safety in general. It's the nice neighborhood. It's close enough to the city, but it's away from the dangers of the city. We're safe here.
Okay.
It's the world of darkness. So we don't even have to say it. But
you never know what goes on behind any house's closed doors.
Well, and that's the point. Because that's rife for subtler threats. You're not having the shootout in the burbs. That's why you're in the burbs.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that, you look down Candy Lane, Candy Street or whatever. You see, I looked at Tom and I remembered the things. So.
I know, I look like candy.
You looked at, you get the Chutes and Ladders Boulevard.
Perfect.
Yeah, see, there we go.
All right, so Chutes and Ladders Boulevard,
right.
Where you got Joe on the corner.
Right.
That does a bunch of domestic violence in his house.
Right.
But then you'll have Susie 2 doors down that's raising 4 kids peacefully.
And then Jane across the street is a secretary over at the local King Distilleries branch.
Ooh.
Oh, see, I was thinking like maybe that house that no one ever goes to or never comes out of. It's actually a quote unquote family of Famori, but they're actually drug dealers too.
I think that might be a little thick for the burbs.
Yeah, for the burbs, that's a little thick.
That's too overt of a threat.
Okay.
Right. You're going too heavy in the dark side of that.
But you know what? There is that house down the street. They say that old lady's a witch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She never comes out.
Right.
Lights never go on.
Right. You look at the movie, The Burbs, and the family who moved to that house, okay, ultimately, yes, there was something up.
Mm-hmm.
But if there wasn't, they were still those creepy neighbors that everyone whispers and there's rumors about. And, Walt, we haven't seen Walt in a few days. Did they murder Walt? Did they kill Walt? Is Walt in their basement? And you could use that paranoia too.
Mm-hmm.
Paranoia? What?
And then with all that resonance, you can flip to the Umbra. These houses are going to reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
So the house that was, I think I called him Joe, that had the resonance of domestic violence all the time. That house is going to look shady. It's going to look dark. It's going to
attract Banes as well.
Banes, yes. And if, there was actual killings in the house, there could be bloodstained rooms.
I see that.
Or if you look at Susie's house where she was raising her 4 kids and everything was light, airy, and great. That house looks pristine, bright lights, lit up great, grass is trimmed. It's the same thing. It's a reflection. So the story of everyone doesn't like this one house because there's a creepy witch in it. Well, that one's going to look really dark and creepy.
What if it's not?
Both of these can be true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it depends on how many people resonate that.
Yeah, the spiritual resonance, it does become a factor. But if at the same time that old lady is just a perfectly nice old lady who spent years giving to charity,
right?
That's going to have a very positive influence in the Umbra. Mm-hmm. But we're not focused on happy people in the Umbra. We want to talk about what you do with that stuff, because those, again, that makes a more personal type of chronicle. And what you do, there's a creature, I want to say it's in Storytellers 3. It might be in Book of the Worm. Crap. I even forget the name of the stupid bane. I used to confuse it with the Crimson Pestilent briefly, but not at all the same thing. That would latch on to apartment housing.
I remember you saying this before, at least to us.
infect the building with its tentacles and create an air of paranoia and make it so people wouldn't discuss what was going on in the building with outsiders, despite the fact that shitty things are going on in the building because the fucking Bane is feeding on the people inside of it.
So it's
And making
not only
them
feeding on
paranoid
them,
and
it's,
aggressive and shitty.
I can see why you confuse it though.
Yeah.
and so it's feeding on their paranoia too. Then
Which it's in turn causing.
So it's making its own food.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Which, I mean, it's nice. It's good for the ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know? It's self-sustaining.
It's a circle.
self-sustaining.
It's a nice little circle of life.
It's like a hybrid band. I don't know.
Congratulations.
It's like half electricity, half gas. It's all fine.
Hybrids. Got it.
It's the Prius of Banes.
Wow.
Fucking Prius.
How did I do that?
I don't know. Somehow
know.
you got to that.
It was
I'm happy
great.
with
Though.
it.
It was great.
But I mean, it's that kind of thing. It could be a game of paranoia. You know, maybe you work it in where a kin family finally moves into this particular neighborhood, and you could do this kind of burbs riff with the paranoia and the rumors and shit like that. And again, that's a more subtle game because this isn't a problem you can necessarily walk over and slash at.
No.
But
Best way to break the veil.
But maybe Susie, who worked at King Distilleries, maybe that gets you an in or that points you in the direction. Because lo and behold, maybe we didn't know about King Distilleries until this. Maybe we're putting two and two together and it's leading us that way, even though maybe that wasn't the answer we were supposed to get. You're still finding something.
I can see that. And then you get that kin family that moves in, and then they're kind of like the scouts for the rest of the Garou, trying to.
I would say unwitting victims. This is a nice neighborhood. Everything's supposed to be fine. Remember, the suburbs, there's safety. That's what it's about, man.
Maybe they were supposed to be the scouts and then became the unwitting victims.
Well, see, no, you got to get the scout shit. Why would you need to scout the suburbs? The suburbs are safe. You're missing the point, Danny. It's safe and sound and secure.
You scout the city.
Right.
Oh, shit.
That's where all the crackheads hang out.
Exactly. That's where all the crime is. That's where all the bad people are. That's where all the problems exist. You go to the burbs to escape. Exactly. You go to the burbs to escape that shit, and little did you know. Tom gets it. I'm looking at his face right now, and he's waiting for me to write a story about it.
I'm seriously waiting. I'm like, okay, this is great. Let's do it.
He's like, so this is going to show up in the new Chronicle, huh?
Yeah, probably.
No, I get it. I was just trying to kind of, I guess, piece more stuff together, but
You were just throwing things at it, hoping.
yeah, I was hoping, and it bombed.
Just throwing at the wall.
Yep.
None of it stuck.
No, it's not done yet. It didn't stick.
But I know you guys have stuff to say too. I feel like I'm boring the conversation.
Oh no, it's fine because
That's just why I'm pushing the Umbra stuff. My whole chapter was on Umbra.
No, and that's great.
I mean, we each did our own little chapter, but like as far as the chapter I was reading, it's more of, hey, you can try this or you can try this, and this is what's here, and this is what's here, and you don't have to use any of it. You could use all of it.
That's true. And to be clear, what Danny, what you're talking about is Book of the City.
Book of the City. Sorry.
We all took a pass through that, which again is not this episode's about. But
We just referenced the
we
book.
was using
But
the
yeah, why
reference,
would you
right.
not read the Book
Yeah.
of the City if you're going to do an episode on playing in the city? So
This is
duh.
It's good if you're playing a Bonar and a Glasswalker. It's good to be able to draw inspiration from and where those characters come from, and even you're trying to build an NPC. It's good to have that kind of information for this.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's also good to look at it if you're bringing, it doesn't even matter what tribe you're from, just other Garou coming in. It's good to paint the picture of the city.
Thank you very much.
Give
Absolutely.
it life. Make sure it feels the way you want it to feel. Because again, there are different versions of a city you can do. The city on the rise, the city in decline, the city that's fucking nightmare fuel, the one that Guy is taking back. I mean, we've talked a little bit about these, but those are different options. And one city shouldn't feel like another one.
Oh no, everyone's going to be different.
Absolutely.
And we go back to the city fathers and the city mothers, and I remember that episode, and we talked about it and how we came up with the city father of Detroit.
Yep.
What did we come up with? He had like
that one.
it was so good. He's got the roll of 20s as a cigar. His skin was like was concrete, but his jacket was like steel. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember. Like he was like a plaid, but it was like checkered, like taxi cab yellow checkered.
That would not be Detroit.
No, none of what you're saying sounds familiar to me, but it's been a long time.
It was color of money. That's what it was.
You know, I believe I had the image of the disheveled homeless man. It was the bronze skin. Like he was a black guy. Like
Probably
in
mixing
facial
like
features.
4 or 5 things together.
You are
here. It's a
mixing a
while
few,
ago. Sorry,
But like the bronze skin, like the statues. You know, I remember he had the large fist.
Yep.
The fist of iron. Yeah.
Yep.
The fist of Joe Louis.
Yep. Like that was a factor. And he was wearing a jersey that was kind of an amalgam of the Lions, the Tigers, and the Wings.
Right.
And the Pistons.
Yep. Thank you. And the Pistons. You know, and that there was the mechanical aspects to him because of the Motor City. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while, but then we said, and when we asked other people to send in, and we got a couple off Discord, like, what would your city father or city mother look like? And you can almost make a completely different one for whatever city you're trying to do for whatever your story.
You need to make because no two cities are alike, and absolutely they should all be different. And I was actually
and they all will have a city father and a city mother.
Right. You know, we talked about Detroit, fine. And we've done that earlier. Great. But say you go to New Orleans. Now, Tom, you have been to New Orleans. You have been to Detroit. I too can say that sentence and like have it be true.
I can say it. It's definitely not true.
Yeah, no, it's not true. Like Danny you can lie, but
Been to parts of New Orleans. I've been to almost all of Detroit, but yeah.
sure. But again, you know, what percentage would you say these cities are identical?
0.
Okay, exactly.
0 by a long shot.
You know, the feel, I mean, obviously the architecture, the layout, so sure. You know, the customs of the population.
Vastly different. The population vastly different.
Right. But even the feel of it, you know, the heart and the soul of a city. And that's a real fucking thing. It's different.
Yeah. New Orleans, music, laid back, very vibey. Like it's just calming. I liked it.
No, and I agreed.
It's like a party city.
One of my favorite moments, like in life, you know, just looking back, and this was a great moment, was my first night in New Orleans. It was the day before. It was just before Mardi Gras.
Oh boy.
I didn't know that, but that's a different story.
Okay, I know this one.
Yeah, you know that story. But it was the night before.
So it's Fat Tuesday.
It was the Monday before Fat Tuesday.
Okay.
And I'm Bourbon Street, but like I'm in one of those side alleys.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And you know, I'm alone in this alley. There's the table and chairs sitting there. You know, it was like someone forgot to take it in from the restaurant because that restaurant was not open. But I sat down because I walked to Bourbon Street, so I've been walking a while, and I sat down to have a cigarette, and I'm in this alley, and it's a nice cool night. It's not cold, but a nice cool breeze is coming in, and you can smell the air off the Mississippi. And then you got the music playing in the distance coming from the bars down on Bourbon Street. And I'm just sitting there in solitude for these couple minutes. And you just put your head back and you close your eyes and you can feel the music coming up through the ground.
Like a dull hum.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And you can feel the life of the city. That's exactly what it is. You can smell the salt off the water. You can smell the crawfish boiled down the street. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous right now. I want these.
Yeah.
Go to New Orleans, man.
It was
I
just
wish I could.
This little private moment that I was just so relaxed and at peace.
I was down that alley. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's awesome.
I'm so jealous.
But see, there you go. That's a feel. And that feeling will never find you in Detroit.
I was going to say that will never happen there.
Nothing even close. And I'm not saying that to talk down to Detroit because there's different feels there depending on where you are. And everything like that should matter. The locations, the soul of that city, it's a big deal. And yeah, that needs to factor into your city father or mother.
I mean, mind you, you're also talking about a very small portion of New Orleans.
Yes, I am.
You're talking in, what is that, the Garden District? Not even. It's
not even at that point.
It's, I can't remember what
like,
district.
I think you're technically still in the business district.
Technically, yeah, I think you are. Because there's 4 different districts down there. And this is a very small portion of the city, but that's just how that part of that district feels. Granted, that's the only place I hung out too, so. Because that's where you go.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's a place I'd love to see.
Because I mean, I could go to Detroit right now. I could tell you we go to where next to the water, where you got the steel farms and all that. You're just gonna smoke and boats and loud noises.
Yep.
Then you go to the sports district. You're going to hear crowds. You're going to hear cheering. You're going to hear yelling.
Drunk people
Just having a good time. I mean, there's also the Fox Theater. There's all that's down there right by the sports stadiums. I mean, that's the hustle and bustle party area. That's where you're going to get good vibes.
I know that one. Yeah, that I've been to several times.
You go down a couple blocks and you'll get our music district where there's a bunch of jazz bars and just soul music being played, which I love going to those areas.
That's a lot of fun.
Great area, Detroit.
Or how about these areas that they're building up now where it's, I don't want to say very hipstery, but like very hipster.
It is. Condos are going up. And, yeah.
It sucks saying it, but it is.
Yeah. Or, let's move a little bit over and you go to Woodward.
Oh, yeah. Then you get all
or to
muscle
Kobo.
cars. Yeah, Kobo. Especially we have a lot of car shows there. You get all the muscle cars, the old classics, the 1940s cars, rat rods.
And again, how all of that affects a culture. It can be used not only as plot points or as set pieces to enhance a story, but also to influence the creation of the city mother or father.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, I just thought of that.
And then that's the thing is, city fathers and city mothers, they're the soul of the city, the intelligence spawned by the 24/7 interaction of people and machines within a delimited space.
And that just made me think of Woodward. Just that entire strip.
I go down there for the cruise every year. I've never missed a year, man.
Well, you're a car guy. I get
Exactly.
it. So that area, that's very much automotive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Detroit is very much automotive. It's
True,
very much
yeah.
automotive. It's very much music. Now, things may have changed over the years, but that foundation is important. And again, we're not talking about this to gush about our cities
Yeah,
or
we
talk
brought
about
up New Orleans.
It's
right,
hard-
or how
hard
great our
not to,
vacations to New Orleans were. That's not the point. The point here is because these are cities that we have that intimate knowledge of. But when you're making a city, when you're working with a city, and even if you're making a fictional city, it's got to be based on something.
Absolutely.
And this is the kind of stuff you're going to want to have in your mind when you work that way. So like if you're running a game out of LA or Chicago, luckily with the internet these days and how there's so many games predominantly online and there are sources like our fucking Discord, you can go to people who live in those areas who can hopefully help give you this kind of vibe that we're talking about right now.
So we can get a different vibe for each city and each person in our Discord can talk about the city they're in or even just the city of their game that they're running.
Well, and that's the thing is hopefully they can help in that way to help you
bring up Chicago too, though. Like I've been there many times. There's the
Sure.
waterways you party out on. There's the Ferris wheel and stuff out on the piers. There's the awesome, like the dolphin thing out on the water. I can't remember what it's called.
Thing.
It's a cool aquatic place. Been there many times. Same thing with Chicago. There's lots of good pizza joints down there. Like,
of course. Hell, we got a buddy.
Skyscrapers. I mean, you have tons of skyscrapers there. The Sears Tower, which is not Sears Tower anymore, but whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But I mean, that's the point is, this is the kind of stuff you want to keep in mind. It's the devil's in the details to help you design a city or portray the city as a character like you kind of want to develop that city father or that city mother. These are the details. So yeah, find someone who's from that area or around that area or spend a lot of time in that area. Get some unique perspectives to help you to make that a thing because that's important.
Yeah, I know they put in the book was when you're doing your city fathers and city mothers, think of them like Effelings. They draw their personality and abilities from the civic character and available resources.
And in that, it's I think good to mention that those spirits do have wants and needs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
be
you
good,
could have
be bad, doesn't matter. You could have
Right.
a bad city father.
You could be an asshole.
He could be a prick, yes.
I just think of Chicago. The city father's got something to do with pizza.
Well, I think this is the city father of Chicago has something to do with corruption. Maybe because he doesn't like it. And he wants that shit stopped.
But he's got a pizza face. I love
He's
Chicago
thinking Pizza the Hut.
I think
or
he's just
something.
hungry.
That too, I am hungry. But like,
He's got me picturing Pizza the Hut right now.
I'm just every time I think of Chicago, I think of pizza. That's my problem.
Well, it's because we have a friend who will drive to Chicago to get pizza.
Yep.
He'll do a pizza run a couple times a year.
Wow.
Or at least he
he'll
used to before.
Yeah, I think that place shut
Before
down.
COVID.
But like, no, he'll bring back 32 half cooked pizzas.
Sweet.
Yeah, he'll send out a mass text. Who wants a pizza? And I'm like, give me 3.
Yeah, he'll take orders and he would just.
It's not too far of a drive. It's
No, it's
four
not.
and a half
It's-
hours, 5
yeah.
hours.
Yeah, but he'll come back with 32 pizzas in the back of his car.
Well,
Sounds like a good trip to me.
Yeah, people ordered 32 pizzas or 30 pizzas, and he went,
Whatever the case is.
I'm not in charge of his pizza fucking delivery habits.
Just because of that. And
No, I see
we've
why
been
you
friends
make it.
with Chase for how long?
Right.
I've been, every time he goes, I get at least 2.
I miss that. I want some pizza.
I want some fucking
See, now
Chicago
I'm
style
you
pizza.
suck.
No, you're
I'm
hungry too,
yeah.
huh?
I'm talking about a city. You made me want lunch. Yeah, but
Pizza face.
going back to spirits,
Pizza face the spirit.
This guy.
I know we can mute him, so I don't even need to ask. Cut this kid off. I mean, we could talk about the small shit.
Mm-hmm.
Your rats, your raccoons, your pigeons, your bug life. That kind of. I mean, sure, those spirits are there.
Of course.
But but then we also look at, again, we talk about like parks,
Mm-hmm.
The residents of like older trees or old homesteads, ghosts, forget about it, cemeteries,
Boo, get out.
Big time.
boo, get out. The fucking squirrels, and again, they're the lifeblood of that city, I almost don't want to talk about fucking Detroit anymore. But
I mean, but it's hard not to. It's what we know the most.
right. But spirits coming from, auto plants.
Oh, yeah.
Mice, rats.
Sure. But even in the
Cockroaches.
machinery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're definitely going to. I mean, they might not be technically awake in the Umbra, but you will have spirits, and you can wake them up.
Those machines that serviced a line for 20, 30, 40 years before the fucking plant shut down, and they're still there.
Mm-hmm. And they will definitely have a resonance.
Just those assembly lines. I'm just thinking of that. Just because we know what they look like, and at least I've been there.
I've worked in them. I
Yeah,
know
so-
exactly what they look like.
But they're not moving anywhere. They're too big to get rid of, or some of them at least.
Miles and miles of track.
Right. And again, I mean, we're talking about that in the automotive, but there are the mines.
Steel
Like,
processing
yeah.
plants. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going.
Mhm.
Shit like that. It's like we're not the only place in the planet, in the country that had production or a history of shit. How about oil fields? How about orchards?
Well, you're getting out of the city for most of that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but that stuff exists too.
It can still be along the lines of the same process.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I was getting.
Yeah, you're getting out of the city.
So I appreciate you running me back
Yeah.
in, but I'm making my point here.
No, I get it.
There is just so much life. I mean, let's look at churches.
Tons of
Not
those.
to get into religion, but that is they say it's the opiate of the masses. Depending on your neighborhood, depending on what part of a city, you're going to have your upstanding, nice church that's been here forever. You're going to have this church that's also been here forever in that shitty neighborhood where everything just sucks. Except this church has been kept nice because that religion is keeping people together and unified in a particular neighborhood, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the ones with a more sordid history, if you follow me,
Mm-hmm.
that are going to have a very different vibe. Maybe you're going to have the one that burned down in the riots 3 years ago,
But it's still there in the Umbra.
but it's still there in the Umbra.
Because of how
its
much
resonance.
worship and everything was done there. Yeah.
And how do those feel, and how do those influence a neighborhood, and how does that neighborhood matter to the nation or to your pack? What does that mean in taking the city back? What does taking the city back mean? I mean, there's so many options but these are things I think that get swept under the rug.
Oh, it's very easily taken for granted. Very easily. I look at, stuff like, it was chapter 2 of Book of the City, and they had a part about the litany. And it's as weird as that sounds, it made sense because it would take each tenet of the litany and give you an idea of reading between the lines and using that for the residents of the city. Again, as weird as that sounds, we'll just take a few examples. It was like, the one, it was Garou shall not mate with Garou. So you take that with your kin and you keep that resonance and your strong bonds with the kin in the city. And that's why Garou shall not mate with Garou, because of how important the kin there are. Or take another one, respect the territory of another. It's because all territories border another territory. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was very weird how it put it, but as I'm reading it, it's like, oh my God, this makes more fucking sense. It's don't take it so literal. Here's in between the lines.
Well, and that's the thing is when you hear the litany in the core book, it's just that's the little translation. This is more of a, what's the word?
Well, I think that's good, to help maybe spell it out for some people who are having trouble with those concepts. Yeah,
especially with Bonars, Glasswalkers, who are so close to humanity.
Well, sure,
and maybe don't see it through the eyes of Garou, and they use that human perspective too much.
I mean, that's entirely possible. I mean,
it's kind of where I was seeing it. That's all.
Yep. No, I know. I get that.
Thought off.
No, I think often people do read that stuff very literally. But no, I mean, you're right. It's important to read between the lines on some of this stuff. I mean, we talk, for example, about the importance of totem to tribe, and every now and then you'll hear, well, where was that written? Well, I don't believe it is expressly written somewhere that says the only thing that, this is the thing that matters. But what we know is that if you have a character that is a purebred black spiral dancer and has not danced the spiral, he is not a white howler. We know that. That is established fact.
Right.
Why? Because one non-tainted spiral doesn't make a tribe. 2, 3, 4 don't make a tribe. You need the totem to have the tribe. Well, therefore,
if there's no totem, there's no tribe.
You need numbers, you need a totem. So you could get 20, 30 Garou to get together and say, hey, we're the White Howlers, but you're fucking not because there's no totem to bless you. What's the worthier part? What's the thing that makes it true? What does that have to do with the city? Fucking nothing.
I think it's probably worth mentioning once in a while because it constantly gets brought up.
Well, it is. It's the thing that, like, it's right there. You just have to read it. It doesn't explicitly tell you, but it tells you that 1 and 1 equal 2. So if you have 2 twice,
it doesn't make 44.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you the answer's 4, but if 1 and 1 are 2,
2 and 2 are 7.
That's right.
What am I
He went to
wrong?
school in the inner city.
I did.
See, he brought it back. Imagery is very important for a city, and for setting the stage. You think of stuff like the kids popping the fire hydrant on a hot summer day.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
I've
have
seen
to
that a couple times. Yeah,
it doesn't have to just be shitty things, but it depends on how you want that city to be portrayed. And again, we look at the burbs outside of the city. You look at the upper class neighborhoods, which again, you don't want to take those burbs. You want to double it. Because the shitty things going on behind closed doors.
Oh yeah.
That guy, Robert, he's not a secretary for King Distilleries. He's like the regional vice president or something. That's the guy with the murder dungeon.
He's got the Corvette and the Porsche and everything sitting outside his house.
And the murder dungeon in the basement.
Right.
You don't know about unless you've been there, Danny.
Right. That Corvette is covered with the blood of 3 bums he killed while driving home drunk the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
That's why it's a red Corvette.
See, I knew we're the same wavelength. I knew it.
Oh, I knew you were going.
That was pitchy. It was absolutely a red Corvette.
Awesome.
Pays the detailer. We go, I want this cleaned up. It doesn't leave the garage until it's cleaned. And here's an extra 100 to never say a thing.
That would be an extra $1,000.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at that point.
You could very easily lean on the concept of the quote, the Karen. But I aggressively don't want to, because to me, that's really that's low hanging fruit. That's too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's a bitch one time. Congratulations.
That happens all the fucking
time. Right. That was my thing. Welcome to the world. Let's fucking sit
Welcome to the world of darkness.
Let's put a stool next to that premise and milk it till it's dry. No, that's too easy. That's lazy.
It's never dry.
How they made a movie about that? It was terrible.
They made a game on that too.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Of course they did.
Karen.
What?
Karen and Carl.
That's a different thing. They made a movie on this?
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the podcast.
Which movie are we talking about right now?
Karen.
There's a legit movie called Karen.
I just said this.
I thought you were joking. I've never heard this.
There's a legit movie.
It was terrible.
It was.
Doesn't surprise me.
You'd expect it to be terrible.
Exactly. And there you go. So why are we bothering with that premise? You just move on because there's other more interesting shit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You have the idea of the urban legends that are out there. And they talked about this in, I want to say, the first Storytellers book.
The Urban Legends one?
Yeah.
This is actually in chapter 2 of Book of the City.
Well, I know they talk about it in Book of the City, but they also talk about it, and again, the idea of taking those things and making them real.
Yeah, there's a pack of black spirals that do this.
I have referenced them in the past, and yeah, I forgot what book they came from, so there you go.
This was, when I read this, holy shit. This was fucking cool, but like scary as shit. The Freakers. There's a pack of black spirals that they feed off the paranoia. And they take these urban legends and they bring them to life.
Yes.
Freddy Krueger down the street.
Waking up in the tub full of ice and your kidney's gone. The AIDS needle put in the paper towel dispenser at the public restroom.
Yep. It was a Generation Hex pack known as the Freakers.
It's a good name.
For years, people have told each other tales that this happened to a friend. These stories were generally told as cautionary tales, usually with some not so hidden lessons at the core, like sex is bad. With growth of the internet, these stories could spread wide with the speed of light, and those become much harder to track. Even in the world of darkness, most of these legends are in just that. Legends. However, a group of young spirals looking for a creative way to make trouble decided that these tales were instructions for them. And it goes on, but like, holy shit.
Officially, it's decidedly fucked up.
It's fucking cool though. And to imagine that being like a threat. You're trying to save the city, but that's one of the threats you got to deal with is that pack.
Well, and let's take that a step further, a step back, right? Because fuck even saving the city, just existing in the city. And forget these spirals as a direct threat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, certainly worm creatures are a threat, but just that they exist out there is enough, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The fact that anything, Bane, Gamora, all of them, just corrupt anything out there. That's a huge threat, especially in the city.
But I think that idea of these urban legends just being true all of a sudden, just is a backdrop in the game.
It was
it's just
cool
going
concept.
on while you're living your life. Is it a threat you're going to encounter? Is it something you're going to stop? No, because how would you stop that unless you knew there was a connection? It's just the city's fucked up. It's part of the set piece.
That's why I liked that so much when I was reading it. It was really cool to think of it as a concept. Because again, it just draws that paranoia out of the city.
Mm-hmm. There's so much to play with there. You should never focus on just one thing because you want that city. If you're going to play a city game, you want that city to be a character. And you want to do the best you can with it. It needs its personality. How well are you doing with the spirits? Well, make sure the city father and mother are there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a factor in things like, and we've talked about different spirits, different totems, you know, jagglings and gafflings and stuff, and all over the place through the course of the show. So you think of stuff like the Great Trash Heap. Right?
Yeah, I remember that one.
You're telling me there's not a fucking dump in this city?
Oh,
Well,
yes,
it'd
there
be
is.
on the outskirts, but
Would it in the world of darkness?
no.
I mean, it could be, but also maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, you're painting your own city, so
Yeah. And, you know, and that's the thing is don't be afraid to change shit in a city to meet your needs. If you're using a real city and you need to change some geography, go ahead. Change some stuff on the outskirts. Change some of those upper class neighborhoods. Change some of those lower class neighborhoods. Change some of the suburbs. It fits your needs. This also goes back to why I've always discouraged placing a game in your backyard.
Which is why we won't play a game in Detroit.
Right. And I mean, there's a difference here when you have a group online that are all from different places.
So it's a lot easier to do.
Well, you can put it in your backyard if no one else in your group is from that neighborhood.
Right.
Go ahead because work on what you know. But with a face-to-face group, you know, you guys know this area just as well as I do, if not better. So if I get a detail wrong, whether you want to or not,
We're getting
and
out.
this is true, whether you
It's
want to or
happened.
not, yeah, the human brain will go, no, that's not right.
yep, it'll pull you right out of game.
Yes. You can go, well, no, I'm still in character, but you were still pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
It still happened. Your brain still said those roads don't intersect. That's not where that park is. I drove by that yesterday. Bullshit. You need that artistic experience. So you know what? Maybe you use the geography, call it somewhere different.
That'd be easier to do.
You know, we go back to Into the Breach. And now, mind you, I didn't run that in Virginia. But the town of Longburn, Virginia
Is a real place.
is just not called Longburn. I could have called it the real thing because you guys have no fucking connection to the place.
Mhm.
I still changed the name.
So it was, at that point, it was probably easier for you to not bring yourself out of it.
Well, look, I'm designing it anyway, and I didn't deviate from the geography all that much. But that's not the point. You know, I still called it something different. If I want to set a game, and like I do, I have a Chronicle that is set in Michigan, and I can't do it. I can't even change the location because I can't pretend it's somewhere else because the specific geographical locations are so tied to Michigan. I can't do it.
Are we looking at Belle Isle?
We're talking Bablo.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, I would call you out a
Island.
lot on that
Yep.
if you had anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Been there many times.
Yeah.
Sorry, then.
Bablo Island was a major, and I knew, but it was a major factor in the plot. And again, I'm also taking liberties with cairn location versus set. Then I'm moving a park 3 blocks over and making it 3 blocks larger to cover the bond of a cairn to put it up next to a trailer park where
But
the
you
fucking
can do
glass
that.
walkers.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys would go nuts. That there's a road here.
But we would know the difference.
Right.
Where if you played a game with someone,
That didn't live
Right.
here, I could use those locations. No, Porter, there are 2 roads. I drive them to get here, you asshole.
yeah, we would do it.
And you couldn't
know
help
we
it.
would.
We
Yeah,
wouldn't
we
be able
would
to help
help
it,
it.
though.
You know?
You might be able to keep your mouth shut, but like in your head, you're thinking like, no, that's wrong.
Exactly.
I know it's wrong.
Again, you can't help that fact that your brain's going, no, that's wrong. You can rename the town. You can put it in another state unless there's geography that's that important, like this particular story. Do that, certainly. You know, if you got an online group and they don't know the area, use your backyard. That's fine. Just don't do it when you're sitting at a table with people who share that backyard. Because you ain't getting away with anything.
No.
You're breaking immersion.
We play that game, or maybe we got Lucas and Melissa playing. They'll have no fucking clue,
Right. But you guys will still know.
but we'll know right away. It's like, I can't
Like I
keep
don't
my
want
mouth
to.
shut.
I don't want to take you guys out of it, but there it is. It's a thing, and I know some people disagree. Like, oh, don't use your hometown, and sure,
As
don't-
long
as long as rename it. If you're sitting at a table with these people, rename the town. So it's not this town. It's laid out very much similar, so you can use that knowledge to help give you a rough estimate of what this is like, and still give the storyteller the freedom to change what they need to change without breaking immersion.
It's important. It's a really big deal.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, I could say that all I'm the fucking storyteller. To hear you as a player say that too, thank you.
It is. It's a really big deal. Like I know there are characters in our game that have, I guess, plot points of their history, but like I try and leave that just because it's their history. But I know like Belle Isle, so it's hard to leave that alone. But you kind of have to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Only
your
gonna
character
hurt
from your
yourself.
character was from Chicago?
Well, I'm talking about a NPC,
Oh,
and if I say Belle Isle, it's obviously what I'm talking about. At least to you.
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants his character from Belle Isle. I don't know.
I was
No.
born on a racetrack.
Yeah.
Meow, meow.
Like he just rolled over into a pothole, and that's why he's still alive.
City
him
father.
safe.
City
Hey,
father for Detroit.
We said we
covered in
weren't mentioning
potholes.
Detroit anymore.
Craters all over his skin.
Right.
Ouch.
That's good.
That is good. Tires for legs.
You know, we look at, again, the book of the city, and you look at other kinds of threats going on, and even umbral threats. We talk about how the residents of what the umbra looks like compared to what the city looks like. And it all depends on the history.
Oh,
What?
the Umbra residents in the city's nuts.
Yes.
It is nuts. It is. So the Penumbra city is just as alive as the city in the physical world. So think about that.
So,
How crazy busy Chicago is on a normal day.
mhm.
The Umbra reflects that to the T.
Well, you know, imagine the trains are still running.
Wrong.
No.
Really?
Wrong. There is no public transit in the Umbra. I'll get to that, though. That's a bit further down in my notes. One thing that I actually found really cool about the Umbra is light in the penumbra is ambient, emanating from quote-unquote everywhere. So it's not as bright as the sun. Think of it as the ultimate task lighting, and it literally is coming from everywhere. So if you open up a dumpster, there's light in there. It's a soft
light
glow.
enough for you to see.
It's a soft glow, but it's light. Like I said, think of task lighting. Like you're at your desk at night and you're working on something. You have a little task light, like the one right above your head right now. Now you want to get to the Umbra in the city? Good luck. Gauntlets in the city are very tough.
I was going to say they can't be easy to get to.
Never count on being able to hop back and forth between the gauntlet. The worst places to step sideways is anything that is a haven for high tech. For examples, a server farm, a manufacturing plant, a pharmaceutical research lab, or worst of all, the DMV.
Oh!
I love that was brought up.
So right from the book, worst of all, the DMV.
Imagine.
Places like this are guaranteed to have a gauntlet that feels like Kevlar. There's actually an image in the book that I recommend everybody to look at as a Garou is trying to transition through the gauntlet. It's really neat to see.
I just think of the DMV, or for us as Secretary of State, but all the people sitting there waiting for their fucking number to be called, and how goddamn miserable everybody is in that fucking room.
Right, all the red tape and bullshit and misery.
Yep.
All the electronics and oh yeah.
You stand there to pick a number, and then you go sit down and you wait for your number to be called. So you've been there for 3 hours already.
You know, as we talk
miserable.
about residents there, it's, always choose the places you want to step sideways carefully. You don't want to fall from a 30-story penthouse building.
Damn.
Oh yeah, that's a great point.
That is,
and it's something that people sometimes forget is that building. Who knows what that's going to look like in the Umbra? You look at something like the Chrysler Building. I'm sure the Chrysler Building looks very much the same.
Yeah, Sears Tower in Chicago. That's been there for so long. There's plenty of residents for that.
Yeah, but
you go to Vegas and you're 30 stories up at the Bellagio or whatever, some new casino.
Well, yeah, maybe not the Bellagio.
Not the Bellagio. Go with some new casino.
The Fantastical.
Sure.
Which is a thing I just made up.
Yeah.
And a word I just made up. It's the brand newest, bestest casino ever. It's 50 stories tall, and none of them are in the Umbra.
Nope.
Yeah, it's so new that it's not even there. There's no residents there.
Right. It's aggressively nothing.
Yeah, you're 50 stories up, and you decide to step sideways and enjoy your 50-story fall.
You better have owl as a pack totem. Or a parachute. A hang glider.
And now, obviously, in the Umbra, Danny, you hit this when you did your part on the Umbra. The Weaver is very prominent.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're especially with new age technology cities like this, and in the growing humanity, as they're growing, so is their technology.
So is the Weaver.
Exactly.
Yep.
The Weaver actually has a neat new little trick that they talked about in this book.
Uh-oh.
The Weaver is able to make spaces in the penumbra bigger than its physical counterpart.
It's like a TARDIS.
Basically, yes, it is. See, these things are very hidden. You will not just wander into one of these unless you make a habit of poking your nose where it doesn't belong. They call them extra spaces. So quote unquote extra spaces is what they call them. These extra spaces are hidden behind doors or restricted areas that are off the beaten path. If you do find and go through one, you will know when you step through it. It's not really a gauntlet type of feeling, but you get this wretched feeling in the pit of your stomach when you happen to pass through one. And they actually show an image of a Coke machine. When it gets opened up, it's a portal to somewhere else.
I was going with different imagery, but something similar. Check this out. The guardrail of some concrete steps on like a college campus or something, or like a library. And so you know how there's the segments of them. See, they have the extra support beams in the middle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Under one of those, You know, like as a kid, like you'd grab the rail and you'd like, oh, I'm going under it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you went under that, and that's the entrance to one.
It's got to be more hidden than that, though.
But
I mean, it
Does
could
it?
be. Oh yeah, it's got to be hidden because
I mean,
she's
that's
trying to
hidden.
hide her power still. That she
Hidden
gained
in-
this new power.
But what's better hidden than hidden in plain sight?
You'd see it. These are still visible.
Okay.
but what if you don't see it except for a different? Like I think it's neat imagery, like that right
is a
angle,
great
and it's
imagery.
a little. You know, like you don't notice it until you're at that one angle, and it's at this fucking abandoned section of a whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I see it.
yeah,
I see it.
The kid just goes fucking missing.
He goes to do the loop, and he just
Yeah.
goes, mind you, this stuff only happens in the Umbra. This is not physical world. So,
Yeah, but I like
but
the
I get
imagery.
it. I get it.
God damn it, fine, you win. I like the imagery.
I'm sorry. It's just I'm going off of the book.
No, fine, you're right. Like you're right, you win. Fuck off.
I like your imagery, though. You were on the right track. Just got to be a little more hidden.
This thing is gonna be neat.
Biggest thing you can concern yourself in the Umbra cityscape. Know where the fuck you're going. Study a map. Yeah, definitely concern yourself with not getting lost. You can't exactly ask for directions. Like if you do ask for directions,
Who are
say
you asking?
you go find Rat or Rat's Brood. You go ask them for directions. Well, that's not going to be very pleasant the way he's going to guide you to where you need to go. You're going through the sewers, sir.
Yeah, because what they know compared to what you know.
The source is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's entirely possible you could finagle a couple of pattern spiders or maybe find a geomid.
I was going to get to those.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, that's actually a whole next paragraph.
Let's see, now you know how it feels.
Jumping ahead of me
You know how it feels now.
a little bit.
You guys will do this to me a lot. Also, Grant does this to me professionally.
Professional.
Maybe he's not getting that toaster.
And I think twice a show, he's like, where's Porter's notes? I haven't seen them. I'm just going to read ahead. So y'all know what it feels like now. Please go ahead.
So, like, you can ask Rat. There's obviously still spirits there. You can ask them. It's just not guaranteeing it's going to be a pleasant interaction or it's not going to be a pleasant trip to where you're going.
Can't imagine why.
The Weaver did make quote-unquote signposts to help with organization in the city. And these are informational geomids, which are Weaver spirits that appear as geometric shapes. So, like, your city corner would have the cone there, and that's a geomid. Dick. No, these things are networked together to share information with each other and central servers. You will not be able to communicate them without a fetish computer as an interface, though. You can spirit speech to them, but they're going to give you the most basic of answer, like
You are here.
you are here. Basically, this
Where
is
is
exactly
here?
what it is.
You are here.
You are at the corner of Ocean Avenue and something else. Like, that's exactly what you're going to get.
I think a good way to look at those, and I don't know if these still exist, and I don't know if the buildings they were in still exist. It's been a weird few years, everybody. But the map kiosks in malls.
Oh, yeah. Those still exist.
Oh,
I think
malls
they're
or the
like,
kiosks?
the kiosks. They're electronic now.
both. I mean,
Yeah, see, that was the thing. I wasn't like, do the kiosks still exist? Do malls still exist?
Malls still exist. I actually went to our local one not long ago, and they're electronic now. They're not just a
there's
not
the,
just a sign.
Interesting.
the QR codes on the wall. It's like, here, you want to get around this mall? Scan this code or something stupid.
I'm sure those exist. I don't remember
I
seeing
wouldn't
that.
be surprised.
But
Yeah.
it's now a touch screen. You touch, like, I want to go here, and it shows where you are and what path you need to take now.
What the fuck?
That seems like a vast overcorrection to me.
It's been close to 10 years since I've stepped into a mall.
It's been a while for me too, but
You're not missing anything.
I'm
well,
good.
I'm sure you're missing a lot of closed stores.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's
Well,
really
especially the
is
one
awesome.
by us. Yeah.
Yeah, that mall was awesome.
But
Was?
It's not anymore.
I know it's not. That's the one I'm thinking of. Are you
which
thinking
one
of
are we thinking of?
Lakeside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that mall was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Oh, it's trash now.
Oh. They get the best arcade once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
The best.
There's maybe 20 stores there now. Maybe.
That's a bummer. That's a fun end of an era, and not
Malls are done.
yeah. Which is why I asked though. The point is kiosk mall.
Mhm.
I think that's a good way to think of a geomid, even though if you need a little extra bullshit to communicate with.
If we're putting games back in the 90s, you can make it still.
Oh, yeah. Well, 90s malls were huge.
Right?
Let's get back to those geomids.
Yeah.
if you do interact with them with a fetish computer, if you are good with your computer, you can get a detailed map of the area, which would include those extra spaces.
Oh,
So you can find those. You can actually get current security alerts and even future building plans or bank account balances or information. So you could really mess with some things here. But there is a catch.
Oh, of course there's a catch.
All information accessed is logged, which usually not a problem unless there has been recent werewolf activity, which puts everything on red alert. And then any violence against the geomids receive instant retaliation by weaver spiders or attack geomids.
There it is.
So attack geomids.
Yes.
You would not want to mess with these things. When it would actually be kind of funny because you would have shapes beating on you.
A shape like
a triangle
cone.
is hitting you, a cone is hitting you, a square is hitting you. Can you picture that?
No.
So back to the public or mass transit. There's no public or mass transit in the Umbra. You have to walk it. And they recommend that you stick to sidewalks because cars and trucks are still a hazard. They still have residents. And this is due to the car culture people, just like in the Motor City.
Yep.
So people who worship their vehicles so much, they have that vehicle's reflected into the Umbra.
And see, when I was talking about the mass transit, I wasn't thinking about them to be usable. I was thinking like,
I mean, you could
there.
awaken. I did say you could awaken a train car and use it.
well, and like I wouldn't even go in that far.
But then you got to worry about pattern spiders who use that.
Right. And then, yeah, I mean, there's more to that's a lot of shit.
That's a lot of bad news bears.
But, and again, first thing I want to say was Detroit. But I mean, there's not just, it's like the trolleys in New Orleans or San Francisco, the subways in New York, the trains in Chicago, the fucking people mover.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I wouldn't expect to go to, the umbrascape of Detroit and use the fucking people mover. I wouldn't expect to do that in actual Detroit.
No.
But I would expect the spirit of it to exist.
Yeah, it does.
That's what I was talking about earlier. But I knew you had it later, so it's like, all right, I'll shut the fuck up until later.
Like, they exist, but like I said, they're not usable.
Right. And like I don't feel like it's like a cop out. What's the point then?
Right.
Like,
I mean, you can awaken it, and hopefully it does what you want it to do. But
yeah, like I would do that as like an emergency play, maybe. Like if you're, what's the point of taking a journey into the heart of a city to do battle, whatever, in the Umbrascape for whatever, XYZ, whatever the fucking MacGuffin is, whatever and go, well, let's just take the subway.
Mm-mm.
That's what I want
would
like, what a boring journey.
that is so frequented by pattern spiders, according to the book, that you would not want to be down there.
Well, I just mean from an adventure standpoint. It's like that joke that I'm sure we have all heard that, why didn't they just take the fucking eagle to Mount Doom and drop the ring in from the fucking sky? Why? Because it would be a boring fucking story.
This is true. It'd be the easiest way out. Yeah.
Right. One time a hobbit rode on an eagle for an hour. The end.
Turn a 14-hour story into 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was one of the early howitshouldhaveended.com. It was one of the early ones. You just saw the whole group flying on the giant eagle. They dropped the thing in the, in the volcano. And someone's
End
like,
credits.
yeah, could you imagine if we walked? Someone could have died.
That is kind of boring.
Right? Like, you don't want that adventure. Like, why would you? No. So, yeah, like, I don't
just do
advocate.
it this way because it would suck as a story. That's why.
Right? Because you want fucking something dynamic and dangerous and like an adventure, not basically like a plane ride. How do we get downtown? You fight your way downtown. Well, we'll just take a cab. No.
So I actually, I grabbed a little snippet of the ratings for the Gauntlet.
Oh, okay.
So your typical Gauntlet ratings in the city, a diff 9 are microchip manufacturers' clean rooms and like the state Supreme Court clerk's office. It's an example.
Okay.
Diff 8, the inner city slums, downtown financial district, or the intensive care unit.
Fuck.
Your Diff 7 is your children's playground, suburban neighborhood, and convenience store or church sanctuary.
Okay.
Diff 6, large city park, art museum, organic health food store, or maternity ward.
That's okay. I mean,
I feel like maternity ward's an odd choice because it's still in a fucking hospital.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. That's why I wanted to bring this up. I was like, why would they choose that?
Maybe in the world of darkness, maternity wards are in fields.
Yeah, maybe.
Like there's like a slide going from the delivery room to the maternity ward across the street.
And then your typical Cairn is still a diff 5.
I mean, I can see it.
Yeah, well, you know what the fucked up thing about that is that's from Book of the City, which was published like 20 fucking years ago.
Oh, so things have changed.
So yeah, like
No, they brought the diff down a little bit.
no,
Oh,
well, there's no way.
that's true.
You know, probably older than 20 years ago. What's pull that book open. What's the date on that, Danny?
2002.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so there you go, 20 years ago. So, you know, add to that the advances in the internet, Wi-Fi, the phones in everyone's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
That gauntlet does not go down.
No, it only goes up.
Yeah. That's the fucked up thing. Is those are 20 years ago gauntlet numbers.
Wow. And then they have a thing called trapped gauntlets.
What?
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Akbar.
So from extra spaces to trapped gauntlets.
Trapped gauntlets. A trapped gauntlet attacks Garou who pass through with an attack rating equal to the local gauntlet rating and a base of 1 level of lethal damage. The Gnosis roll to step sideways acts as a dodge, reducing the amount of damage done. The remaining damage is soaked by willpower, not stamina. Now, when a pack steps sideways together, each member faces the attack separately, but they still use the leader's Gnosis result as a dodge.
That's so mean.
That is so mean.
Holy shit. So
I mean, the trapped gauntlet idea, cool.
No, it's super cool.
Super cool, but that is sucks to have to deal with that.
So it's just a don't do this. And here's an idea, and here's why you shouldn't do it. And here's more ideas of why you shouldn't do it.
No, it's like just make sure you keep your eye on your player's damage.
Mm-hmm.
Keep running their health levels before you.
Well, I mean, it's soaked by willpower, so hopefully you got enough willpower.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, from what it sounds like, you're definitely taking 1 damage.
At least
1, and then the rest goes to willpower.
Well, and then remember, it's the gauntlet rating.
Right.
So if that gauntlet is 9.
Yeah, I was going to say, and then it's the,
But you do your
the
Gnosis
higher in the
roll.
city.
That's your roll with the diff 9.
But
So, right.
still
9
mean.
damage. Oof.
yeah, that's a good time. That's what you want.
Well, this is why you make sure you step sideways in the right areas. Do
Sure.
not do this in any type of server room or where there's just lots of Weaver tech, because the Weaver obviously is the one that made the gauntlet. So wherever her stuff is, it's going to be thick.
And you're right. I mean, it's the difference between the local cable company headquarters and the old Irish pub that's been there since 52.
Right.
One obviously is super weavery and suck. And but the other, has decades and generations of camaraderie, the locals, the family that owns it.
Oh, it's way
All
more
the
important.
good times.
Yeah.
Bad times too, but
Sure. So there's a positive quote unquote force from the city. And it's that kind of shit you got to keep in mind too. I mean, we've talked about it a bit, but I think it bears repeating because it's very easy to just treat the city as the enemy. Super easy.
very easy.
And it's also, you don't want to have a situation.
I mean, especially from the Garou lens, it's very easy to treat the city as bad.
Right. And there's a lot of bad there, but there's beauty there too. You just have to frame it in the right lens. And you also want to have a situation, you want to be fair to the treatment of your city. And I mean that insofar as you have a pack, right? And let's sake of argument, a Get, a Red Talon, a Fianna, and a Glasswalker. Okay.
Sure.
And you go, oh, you're coming to the city and it's fucking terrible and everything smells like farts and blood and vomit.
And that red talon's going to freak out.
Sure. But we ain't even there yet, right?
Right.
Okay. And you can, you're choking. There's the smoke in the air, the exhaust, and you're choking on it. And everything smells like death. And you're miserable and shitty. And the humans all smell like shit and their stupid X fucking body spray.
Gain of rage.
Yeah. And then you go to your glass walker and go, oh, welcome home. Gain 2 willpower. Everything's perfect. What a fucking disconnect.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you find that mid ground.
But again, it goes back to looking at through the Garou's eyes rather than a human eye.
But we're still looking at through the Garou eyes, which is one of these Garou happens to be a glass walker who thrives in a city. But you don't want to frame it to where like, oh, everything smells like farts and shit. And that's what you love, Glasswalker. You love farts and shit. Because if you frame it that's what it sounds like.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you want to give your due diligence. You want to help showcase some of those moments of beauty and some of that good in a way that everyone can see it. And it doesn't just sound like, hey, the Bonars and the Glasswalkers suck and they're awful, because that's not what we're saying. There's something there that they're seeing. They're not wrong. I mean, sometimes you go too far, but there's shit there. So focus on that and find that way to bring it into that middle ground. So you're not saying the same thing to essentially two different groups of players,
Right.
and going, you hate everything about this, and you go, and you love everything about everything I just said that they hate.
Yeah, there's the disconnect. You don't want the disconnect.
No one enjoys huffing exhaust fumes.
No, not even a human.
Right. But you know what? You can definitely find the charm or the appreciation in that old Irish pub.
Oh, yeah.
Or that hot dog vendor that's personable and friendly. And hey, look, maybe it's even a clean fucking operation. Or maybe slightly less dirty. But either way, the newspaper vendor that knows all of his customers.
That's weird. I was just thinking that.
Yeah. And is like, hey, John, good to see you. How's the wife and kids? Susie, what's going on at King Distillery? Must be a pretty weird job.
Must be a pretty great job. King Distillery. You make booze.
Exactly. Well, and it's a big name. It's a big company.
How's the whiskey? Tainted.
But she don't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah, how is she supposed to know?
You're like that. Paint it right. So you got, you smell the exhaust fumes, but then your ears perk up as you hear the jazz music coming out of the bar down the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Little things. Devil's in the details.
It's a big deal. That's crazy.
It's not all bad.
No, it's not. And again, it's you got to be careful about how you frame that especially with city and country Garou in the same pack, because you don't want to isolate those city Garou. And maybe you do a little bit for effect, but a little bit. And situationally, like maybe the first time you enter a city.
Yeah, you do it that way, but it's just so we get the idea.
Right. It's the hammer and the contrast this time.
Right.
Because it's the first time.
And then
But
you dial it back the next time.
Right, but you certainly don't want to isolate players by doing that. By pointing to that Glasswalker at the table going, you like all these shitty things that everyone else hates.
I think of it as like two different places in this country, right? Yeah, I'm here. And obviously we know where we're at. But then you look at like the opposite side. Look at California.
Oh, okay. What?
I was wondering where he was going to go
what's
with
the opposites? Yeah, all right.
I mean, yes, we're north of, but like, I don't know. It's two different feels.
And every city is.
Yeah, we touched on that at the beginning of the episode.
It just reminds me. That's all it is.
I understand. Listening to the podcast is hard.
Good night, everyone.
We love you, Dan.
I'm out.
But I mean, I like that because you go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like business. It feels like, that's just going to be corporate heaven.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that shit.
Mm-mm.
It's something I think we've talked about in regards to other things. It's like, hey, especially driving and, here, people here generally have shit to do with their day and move.
Oh, yeah.
Move.
Get out of my way. I am busy.
Right. And it's something I've heard a lot from people who come to visit here is they get in the highway. They're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
When people are blowing by at 90, 95 miles an hour in a 70 and no one
stay
cares.
on the right
Yeah,
if you don't want to go that fast.
Right. It's just move. I'm busy. It's not about you. Get the fuck out of my way. And that is all of Manhattan.
All of it.
I mean, you have your different boroughs. So fine. And those have different. I have shit to do with my day and you need to move.
Yep.
Go faster or move.
Yeah. It should be a theme there. I ain't got time for this shit.
It's very hustle and bustle.
I see it.
That's a lot of city life, though.
It is.
That's a good way to paint it. Everything is moving quickly.
Yes. But
Solid point.
The attitudes of...
There's
a difference. Okay?
No, oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like,
I'm
trying not
trying
to
to
say.
articulate it, but there is a difference. Well, I lived in Arkansas. I lived in Little Rock, a small town on the fringes somewhere. I lived in Little Rock proper. And oddly enough, and it wasn't everywhere, but oddly enough, in the more residential, people would still wave. And they'd go hi and they'd look at you and say, and I'm like, why would you ever look at a stranger?
Well, knowing where you're from.
But that's my point. Is why are you waving? Dude, where's your partner? Where's the guy with the gun that's going to sneak up on me while you're distracting me with your hand waving? Do I know you? No, you don't seem to be bleeding. You don't need help.
That's what I was trying to say.
Why would you ever talk to me? Why would you talk to a stranger? Don't look. You look down. you look at the ground 2 feet in front of you. That's how you walk.
Yep. That's what I was trying to say
crazy?
With being here in Michigan and then like the other side of the country, how it's different mentalities.
Yeah, and I mean, that's it's true everywhere. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's true everywhere.
Right.
It was fucking sick, but that's a true story, by the way.
It doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me.
Why are you waving at me, people from Arkansas? What did I do?
I just moved here. Leave me alone.
Right? Fuck off.
I do that here, but that's also out on a boat. It's a boating community. We all wave to each other.
But that is different. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's a little weird, but that is different.
The boating community is different.
That is a boating. Yeah, that is a boating community. We're suddenly not talking about like the fucking Cass corridor,
right?
Where we might already have been murdered
before we even got there, like on the outskirts.
Yes,
probably.
Yeah, we don't go there.
There are parts of Detroit that Detroiters don't go to.
No. There are some spots we could take you through that you would.
I cannot take you through.
No, it's just a really bad idea.
No.
I think we've talked about Detroit enough, guys.
We absolutely have, but
we keep doing it.
But either way, I mean, there's so many aspects to the city. There's so much to do with it. There's so much variation, and it's important to lean on that variation. You know, if you're running a city game and it's not a city you know well, again, use resources like Discord and talk to people who might be familiar with it. Hit up Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sounds ridiculous, but I mean, when I was writing The Guilty, it had been several years since my last trip to New Orleans.
You drop yourself down in satellite view or the street view.
That's exactly what I did.
That's super smart.
Yeah. To it's like, here's, the architecture. Yes, this, yes, that, I mean, I think you remember I was describing during The Guilty, how the different houses, how they're formed, and you have like the more shack type houses. And then some of the nicer houses. And if you're there, you absolutely see it. Mm-hmm. But it's not a detail you think of when you go back to remember normally.
Right.
Or how, there's the big pastel colors. We're
Very
painting our house
city.
pastel blue. It's a unique thing. But it's those little details that help. And if you've never been there, you would never know, and you'd never think to ask about that.
Right.
So take to Google Maps, go to that satellite, to that street view, and explore the city that way if you
go
can.
to the Garden District. It's gorgeous.
Well, yes. I mean, like, you vacation in New Orleans, please. It's a great
seriously,
place.
everybody,
great city.
Everybody listening, go there.
But
I want to.
I'm not your fucking travel agent, so. But
I'll be your travel agent.
but use that digital travel agent to help scout cities and help get a better feel. Ask around, do some research, because you want to give life to that city. You want to make that an extra character in your game. If you're running city games, you do your best, and I mean that's what we talk about here. Ring the bell. Good enough isn't good enough. Strive for better. I think on that note, I mean, there's plenty we could probably go on about, but we can't. The show has to end at some point. So that's what we're going to do. So on behalf of everyone here at Scratch Wolf Studios, myself, Tommy Dixon, Daniel Tyson, we want to say thank you so much for your support. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Keep your claws sharp, your head in a swivel. We'll see you. Do you love farts and shit?
Tainted.